try. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. All
right, a little energy in here. Great. First and foremost, let me tell you a little bit about myself. We are looking at a product of a single-parent household who was told by his guidance counselor that he would not graduate high school. Right? My mother has put me in college programs since I was in the 6th grade. I'm a product of EOP, LPP, Upward Bound, STEP, you name it, I was in it. So I tell you that because I'm going to focus on the untapped talent. When you look at me in this suit, I look like, wow, this man's got it together. But if you would have known me before my guidance counselor told me I wouldn't graduate, there's several people who look just like me that we're servicing now. This platform, SkillUp, has allowed us to reach these folks in an unconventional way to get them to think differently about their own career projections and their skills. These logos down here are 3 different programs that we'll talk about. But in Albany, we're the capital of New York State. Hopefully everybody knows that. We're the capital of New York State. But we're the capital of New York State, but our neighborhoods, we suffer from 25% living in poverty. We suffer from a high jail retention rate, going back and forth at young ages. And I'm lucky I get a chance to be the commissioner of not only recreation, not only youth, but also workforce. So I get to work with the whole family. As a former athlete, I can go and play basketball with you, but after that game and I beat you, we will talk about what is your career pathway? Where do you want to be, right? So started with our summer youth employment program. We had the University of Albany do a study of our summer youth employment program and found that all 1,221 participants in our program graduate at a 66% higher rate than those who do not participate. That's great. However, just because they're in a program, how are we going to get them to that career? Using SkillUp in 2018, we worked with Joe and with Brian to create a curriculum that was tailored towards them to gain some workplace skills, to work on their communication, and at the same time understanding what skills they already had that they didn't even know. The other thing about the Summer Youth Employment Program is if I can train you at 14 and 15 to know what your value is, to make a connection with a network, to know what the job market looks like, by the time you're 16, you're probably advocating for yourself, and by the time you're 24, we're not paying money for you because you went in jail. A lot of the times that we see folks going in and out of jail is economics. If you don't know where you're going, you'll do anything to survive. And that is a fact no matter what county you represent or where you live. The other thing about our Summer Youth Employment Program is some of our students, we're a sanctuary city. And so we are welcome anyone no matter what country you come from. Some of our students have never used the technology that we have in the United States. And so you don't have to have previous experience with a computer software system to take advantage of SkillUp. And we saw that with particularly a group of our young people when we piloted this program. On Fridays, we pay our young people in the Summer Youth Employment Program to learn on college campuses. And that was an important addition for us because, as I told you, I was an upward bound student. I wouldn't have been able to go to college and understand how to discipline and study had I not been in the program. Well, the same could be for our students. They don't know how to network unless we teach them. So that's what we're doing through that program. But SkillUp allows us to be able to teach them in the way that they're used to. How many of you have cell phones? Raise your hand. If you lost your cell phone right now, would it be an emergency? Right. So imagine if you're half your age or my age, imagine where you want to learn. Imagine how you want to learn. And so if I can put you in front of a platform that you're familiar with, right, and take the person away. Sometimes we don't learn anything because the person talking is boring. I know you're not thinking of me. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. But sometimes you have to take the person away, right? Maybe they look like the person who told you you wouldn't graduate high school. So you have triggers, right? We're dealing with that. In the Summer Youth Employment Program in 2018, we worked with them to come up with that platform. And now we're going to use what Chris does and what Joe does. Joe has the strategy, Chris has the platform and the way to work it, and I'm going to take that back and infuse this in our program for this year. My Brother and Sister's Keeper, President Obama, I think it was in 2014, started My Brother's Keeper. In Albany, we decided to add sisters to it because a lot of young women are leading households. And what this is our pre-apprenticeship program. When we decided to do this, it's direct out-of-school youth engagement. And so a young person is coming to our office to get that direct service. They're meeting with the case manager to come up with a career platform that they want to seek. And then after that, they're in educational training and they're in an internship. We started out with the help of WDI, I don't know if they're in the room, but they gave us some funding to start out a pilot with 11 young people. And those 11 young people use Skill Up as a part of their educational attainment. The measurable skills gains that he talked about, that was huge for us because it gave them incentives along the way. Like anyone, you want to know that you're doing a good job. And with Skill Up, you can get a badge quickly. The Microsoft Office program we talked about is 30 days. A lot of young people, when they're interviewing, they may not hear back for 2 months. They need to eat right now. They need to feed their families right now. They need that money right now. So this gave them that instant gratification or delayed gratification that they needed to keep them incentivized to keep coming back. But it also gave them an opportunity to see where they wanted to go over time. So for example, with that program, you start out, you sit down. A lot of the young people we're serving are not reading at grade level. They're basic skills deficient, and I know everyone in this room understands what I'm talking about with that. Through Skill Up, it allows you to chip away at where they need to be. So it's not a big professor standing in front of you and saying that you have to write this 40-page paper. It's a person that you may or may not know, or a platform telling you, here's step 1, here's step 2, and it's incrementally taking you to success. That works for our population because it's not overbearing, and at the same time, it's going to allow them to feel better about coming back tomorrow, and they can do it on their own time. We don't have a 24-hour shop, right? And so if you have to work a second job from 4 to 8 or 4 to 9, you can do this in the morning, you can do this in the afternoon. It's an advantage. The other thing is it allowed us to tailor their education. In the platforms, and I know Joe mentioned the number of modules that you have there, if you're focusing in sales and marketing, they can set that up for you so you can focus on just that. That's a big piece for us. And the reason why we mentioned mindfulness development here in this academy that we run, there's a part of it that you have to get over some of your past, right? And a piece of what they provide in Skill Up that helped us supplement that instruction was how to communicate, how to network, right? Some people, if you've been harmed in the past, you're not gonna just shake a hand and look somebody in the eye. Well, that has connotations in different cultures. So we were able to work through that as well.
One question, how does it help with work experience?
How does it help with work experience? So 2 ways, right? The first way I would say, number 1, you know what experience you want to work in. That's the first piece. The second piece is when I go to an employer and I tell them I have a badge that says I'm proficient in Microsoft Office or in Word or Excel, I may not have a full resume because I was incarcerated for 4 years, but I have a badge to show you that I'm proven, right? I'm getting the steps in order to provide you a skill and to make your organization work.
So office badges and certificates.
Yes. So our reentry program, Compass Rose, this was a federal grant that we won through the U.S. Department of Labor in collaboration with Boston, Baltimore, Louisville, and Southeast Arkansas. And the point of this was to create job placement for 88 people in the city of Albany. How we are going to use Skill Up with this, is in our integrated services. How the first piece is education. Our youth office is also connected to a education support system, BOCES. However, this gives us another opportunity to work with that person before they go to BOCES. Again, it is tailored to the individual. And that is a strength I want to just continue to harp on. That you don't have to just have a cookie cutter, everyone in this room will do the same thing. You can do one thing, you can do another thing, you can do another thing on a different timeline that fits you. And that's really, really important, especially for this age group, because we're offering the support services through our case managers. We work with partners on the legal services. The mental and behavioral health is also a part of it. But the education, no matter how successful you want to be, most of the jobs you're going to need at least a high school education to get there. Some people may not have the opportunity to do that. Some people may take a little bit longer for them to get that. But with these badges, you can still show proof that you're proficient enough to take advantage of the job. The other thing is transitional employment. With the occupational training, for example, I talked about sales and marketing. That's a big piece for us, only because I'll use a real example. We had a young man who was incarcerated for selling drugs, right? He's selling hard drugs, but he didn't know that he was also proficient in marketing. He didn't know that was a transferable skill. They also have accounting classes, right? He's a great accountant. He didn't have any books, but he's a great accountant. So just to give you a little snapshot of that, basically in Albany, what we did in 2018 is we took what we knew we wanted to do, We tested it out on those groups I just mentioned, the Summer Youth Employment Program, our My Brother Sisters Keeper Academy, and now we're gonna look and going off of the work that Chris has done, and I'm sure she's gonna explain it to you, and what Joe has done, we're gonna see how this strategy works for us. Our partners have been the libraries. I highly encourage you to work with other partners when you do this, because the people we serve touch more than just where we are. What's next for us is participant certificate portfolios. This is just really a morale booster. If I was to walk out of there and I had 3 badges, I want to feel like I have 3 different accomplishments. So we want to give our people portfolios from Skill Up so that they can show their success. The apprenticeship diversity, one of our first users in our MBSK Academy is now a part of a union apprenticeship. And so using this platform, he would have never been able to even get into the union had it not been for some of the work of Skill Up. And so we're going to use this platform to help diversify our apprenticeships in the unions, particularly in our construction and our transportation trades. And then OJTs, you heard a little bit about it earlier this morning, about how important that is. That for us is going to be at the tail end of our academies, but we're going to use the education piece to show that this person can be trained in Microsoft Office for 30 days, and that might be a part of that OJT package. And then micro-credentials is something that New York State and the SUNY system is looking at doing all across the state. We're going to dovetail on that and try to align the two so that these two are end products once you get through our academic programs and using Skill Up. Thank you.